Ah, Animal Crossing New Horizons, the game that we have all wanted so badly for so long. Now that it's finally here, New Horizons is making all of our days so much more delightful and adorable. We've had a few weeks to pay Tom Nook and get our islands into shape, so today we're going through 107 facts about Animal Crossing New Horizons. Animal Crossing New Horizons is the first Animal Crossing game for Switch. It's the 5th main title in the series overall, but since the last mainline game, New Leaf, was released 8 years ago in Japan and 7 years ago everywhere else, New Horizons is nearly a decade in the making. New Horizons had some serious Nintendo veterans working on it. The game's producer is Hisashi Nogami, who co-directed the original Animal Crossing and went on to produce or direct every other mainline game in the series. Oh, and he also produced both Splatoons. Aya Kyogoku serves as the director for New Horizons. Kyogoku started out at Nintendo as a scriptwriter for The Legend of Zelda, then wrote most of the script for City Folk, and then co-directed New Leaf. Kyogoku's accomplishments stretch far beyond that. Under Kyogoku's leadership, New Leaf became the first Nintendo game to have a development staff that was nearly 50% female. The idea was, if Animal Crossing is for both men and women, it should be made by both men and women. To say there was hype around New Horizons' release would be putting it mildly. Nintendo knows fans were craving a new Animal Crossing. During a Nintendo Direct in September 2018, Isabelle appeared to tease a new game announcement, but instead, she was just accepting an invitation to join Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, where you can delightfully use her to throw opponents with a fishing pole. But then, the very same Direct ended with Tom Nook at his desk saying how proud he was that Isabelle was trying new things. He needed to work hard to make sure everyone had a nice place to come back to, and actually announced a new Animal Crossing game would come out in 2019. Except the game didn't come out in 2019, did it? Nintendo notified fans of the delay during their E3 Nintendo Direct in June 2019. One of the higher-ups at Nintendo explained that to make the game as excellent as possible, they had to extend the release date. A few days after E3, Nintendo elaborated on why the release date was pushed back. In the video game industry, it's common for employees to work obscene hours to meet a deadline, but Nintendo didn't want to put their employees through that, so they pushed the game back in order to assure the people working on it had a healthy work-life balance. In all other Animal Crossing games, even New Leaf, where you played the mayor, the player moves into a pre-existing town. But for New Horizons, the team wanted to shake things up. New Horizons is the first in the series to allow the player to completely build their town from the bottom up. The team wanted to change how the player interacted with the world and their fellow villagers. Aya Kyogoku, the game's director, pointed out that the experience of creating everything from nothing allows the player to enjoy the setting before it takes on the village vibe that the veteran players would find familiar. In fact, all the changes made in New Horizons came into play because the team wanted to pull off a nearly impossible balancing act, attract new players while keeping the old ones engaged. New Horizons is also the first mainline Animal Crossing game where players can customize their skin tone. In New Leaf, the only way to kinda do it came out after a 2016 Mii Mask update, but the resulting character had a freaky Mii face instead of a cute villager face. Otherwise, you had to constantly work on a tan. Seriously. Additionally, there are no features that are exclusively feminine or masculine. Even hairstyle, eye shape, or any other customizable feature is gender neutral. Kyogoku and her team realized that society is shifting and valuing a lot of people's different identities. So they set out to create a game where users didn't really have to think about gender. Or, if they wanted to think about gender, they're also able to. From the beginning of the game, you can customize exactly how your character looks in real time. You don't have to take some arbitrary personality quiz and hope you get the eyes or the hair you want. Now, you're in full control. And don't feel locked in. As soon as you gain access to a mirror, you can change any aspect of your appearance at any point in the game. Kyogoku says this is to basically facilitate players' whims. If you feel a certain way one day, you can make that change pretty easily. This refreshing approach to gender neutrality also applies to clothing. In New Leaf, boys could wear dresses, but Mabel would give them a weird line about how she guesses it's okay to be a bit more adventurous sometimes. Thankfully, New Horizons has removed that shade, and Mabel loves that you wear whatever you please. New Horizons also introduces a new currency. In addition to bells, players collect Nook Miles. The team introduced Nook Miles to encourage players to try things throughout the game and to get old players who are set in their ways out of their comfort zone. For instance, in previous games, even Kyogoku would find herself being too focused catching an ultra-rare bug worth a ton of bells, instead of catching common butterflies. But Nook Miles rewards the number of bugs caught. Now, every common butterfly is worth catching. The reward system of Nook Miles feels a lot like a mobile game. That's because it was partially designed for fans whose first experience with Animal Crossing was its mobile game version. Pocket Camp. Coming from Pocket Camp to a main series Animal Crossing game is a totally different experience, so Nintendo wanted these mobile players to feel right at home too. You can buy exclusive Nook-branded merch with your miles, but you can also unlock new features of the game, such as an expanded inventory, a tool wheel, new hairstyles and hair colors, and terraforming permits. Not to mention, you can get Nook Miles tickets, which enable you to travel to Mystery Islands for extra resources. After you pay off your getaway package, you'll also unlock Nook Miles Plus. If Nook Miles are for long-term goals, Nook Miles Plus are for short-term accomplishments, like catching 5 fish or planting a tree. They're hands down the most efficient way to farm Nook Miles points. You'll have a Godzilla statue next to your poolside lighthouse in no time. Instead of just buying furniture, New Horizons allows you to gather materials and then craft your own. Sure, crafting is the new hotness in survival games, but the team also thought it would tie in well with the game's theme of exploring the natural world. Although, there was another, more practical reason for the addition of DIY. If you're starting the game on a deserted island, the team quickly realized that it was obviously going to be necessary for players to be able to craft things themselves. Crafting was also created for those of us who run on Blather's time, i.e. fans who like to play late at night or early in the morning, at times when shops aren't open. Kyogoku said DIY offers these players a way to advance during odd hours. Because everything should be like Breath of the Wild, be warned that the tools you craft in New Horizons will break, especially your flimsy starter tools. The DIY system lets you upgrade your flimsy tools to get more use out of them. For example, with an iron ore, you can upgrade your flimsy fishing rod to a normal fishing rod. That way you'll be able to catch 30 fish instead of just 10 fish before it breaks. Eventually, you can even upgrade your gear to golden tools after meeting some certain conditions like filling out your Critterpedia. You just need some gold ore that you can hit out of rocks. Thing is though, even these golden tools will break after enough use. Also, you'll be able to craft different DIY in different seasons, which means that you can't craft certain items if you're missing materials that are currently out of season. After all, it's going to be a little difficult to gather weeds for a grass skirt once it starts snowing, huh? You can also customize many of your DIY projects and purchase furniture. You can't customize everything, but it's fun to discover that an item is customizable. To unlock customization, you have to open your museum, get 3 new villagers to move in, and, of course, attend Tom Nook's customization workshop. Another major, totally new feature to New Horizons is local multiplayer on one system. You can just pass a Joy-Con to your friend and they can help you weed, chop wood, whatever you need. But here's the catch. Only one player is the leader, and they're the one who can access their inventory at one time. If one of the follower players catches a bug or something, it's instantly transported to the recycling box in the resident services building. Couch co-op is tied up with the fact that you get one island per Switch, which means that if your sibling or significant other shares your Switch with you, you're all inhabiting the same island. You may have to negotiate resources and divvy up the island. While a few corners of the internet are disgruntled about sharing their islands, Nogami says that creating a game with a single save data that multiple people are playing on has been a central tenet of the Animal Crossing franchise since the very first game. He even thinks of Animal Crossing primarily as a communication game. The same console players don't share money or anything, but they do share custom design patterns. Be warned that you cannot edit someone else's design, but you can delete it for everyone. The first player to play New Horizons on their Switch establishes themselves as the resident representative. Once another player moves in, the rep can set up multiplayer with a Nook phone app called Call Resident. Up to 8 players can live on one island. However, only up to 4 of those can play couch co-op at one time. The camera only follows the leader around, but you can easily change the leader by shaking your Joy-Con or through the Call Resident app. The idea for simultaneous 2-player co-op sessions arose soon after the release of City Folk for the Wii, all the way back in 2008, but it wasn't able to be implemented until New Horizons, especially since Joy-Cons make 2-player gaming incredibly easy. New Horizons also enables remote multiplayer, allowing up to 8 people over the internet to visit your island paradise at once. That's twice as many as New Leaf. To open up your island to guests or fly elsewhere, head to the airport. You might be worried about letting your axe and shovel-wielding friends loose on your precious island. Don't worry, unless you indicate on your Nook phone that your visitor is a best friend, they won't be able to use any tools. All of this incredibly elevated multiplayer action is meant to foster uniquely social experiences. In previous games, players that lived in the same village basically existed on different timelines, but now everyone can play together at the same time, which makes enjoying special events like the New Year's countdown or gazing up at shooting stars even more heartwarming. The new focus on customization even goes into your character's clothes, with new possibilities like multi-piece outfits. And just like in real life, the team put that feature in because they figured players would want to show off to their friends while hanging out on each other's islands. Excellent fashion is also something of a trademark for producer Hisashi Nogami, who was also responsible for the sleek styles of Splatoon. In his words, "I do love putting cool sneakers in my games." New Horizons takes that above and beyond. Players are so enthralled by the game's excellent fashion that they're holding fashion shows and creating lookbooks. It's super cool. The fashion in New Horizons goes further than mere sneakers. For the first time ever in the series, you can pick out items like backpacks and satchels for your character, truly getting a Pokemon vibe from that one. This desert island full of the hottest fashions and tons of friends sure sounds like paradise. But how do you get there? Courtesy of the Nook Inc. Deserted Island Getaway Package, of course. This marks a pretty ridiculous rise in Tom Nook's business. He's gone from owning a shop to owning a real estate company to now owning a whole corporation that makes smartphones. Cue Illuminati music. Many players have a, well, faint distrust of Tom Nook, but Kyogoku and Nogami both insist that Tom Nook is a really good person. Their evidence? Other than not charging you interest or giving you a deadline to pay back your loan, which would be a real-life dream, he invests the money he receives from you and your fellow neighbors right back into the community. In fact, Nogami defends Tom Nook's money-centric thought process as a sign of maturity and responsibility, and he never gets mad. Nogami points out that, basically, we have Tom Nook to thank for this entire Animal Crossing experience. So thanks, Tom. We all really need this right now. Actually, Tom Nook is both Nogami and Kyogoku's favorite character in the series. Nogami likes him because he was unsuccessful early in his career, which you find out about in Wild World. So there's kind of a sadness about him, and yet he'll give you that loan, no matter what. With all that said, there is a certain vibe that Tom Nook is a little nicer in New Horizons. Kyogoku says that he's had an opportunity for self-reflection since New Leaf, which has resulted in him actually asking you whether or not you want your house updated, instead of just going ahead and doing it without asking. Thanks, I guess. In New Horizons, Tom Nook doesn't just handle your money in your house. He's responsible for the well-being of the player this time around. After all, you did buy his getaway package. Talk to him about relocating buildings, adding houses, and changing your island's infrastructure with inclines and bridges. But back to that phone, though. It might seem counterintuitive to have a game about escape feature a cell phone, but that Nook phone was designed to be the ultimate handy tool for life on a deserted island. Kyogoku and the team figured that if they introduced a smartphone, players would intuitively know how to use it. The game starts with Timmy and Tommy asking you various questions in preparation for your flight to your new island. Their final question is, what would you bring to an abandoned island if you could only bring one thing? They say it's purely hypothetical, which seems like a setup, but as far as any players have been able to tell, your answer indeed has no effect on gameplay. You don't arrive on the island alone, of course. You arrive along with Tom Nook, Timmy, Tommy, and 2 other villagers who bought the getaway package. These villagers are completely random, but do follow some parameters. One of the villagers will be a jock personality male, and the other will be an uchi personality female. That narrows it down to 24 females and 54 males. The development team knows that fans have favorites and least favorites among the villagers, but as they test played the game, they found out even if they didn't care for their 2 fellow inhabitants initially, the fact that everyone is starting out on this island together helped foster a new kind of relationship to your neighbors that in previous games didn't exist. There are a few other features that are randomly assigned to your island too. Perhaps the most important of those is what fruit is native to your island. You can start with apples, cherries, peaches, pears, or oranges. If you want a different fruit, you can travel to a different island with a Nook Miles ticket or visit your friends. However, you can also eat your fruits if you don't want to sell them. Now, eating fruit gives you a burst of super strength, enabling you to shatter rocks and dig up entire trees to put in your pocket. Destroyed rocks will pop back up on your island the next day, but in a different spot. There are other kinds of plants you can find that don't start out native to anyone's island. These plants include coconut trees and bamboo. The color of your island's airport is also randomly generated, although you don't get as many options. You're either stuck with blue, green, yellow, or orange. Of course, if you're not happy with your fruit and airport combination, you can restart your game until you're happy. You aren't stuck with your island's layout though. New Horizons lets you terraform your entire island. You have to work a bit before you get your permit, but when you do, this is no small feature. You're able to build new streams and cliffs. You can also lay down legitimate paths, not just custom designs that look like paths. You can still use custom designs too, though. That's what I do. Terraforming was actually added specifically for those players who kept restarting previous versions of the game until they got the layout they wanted. Now, players can finally make that perfect layout. Oh well, some people can never be pleased. For the first time in Animal Crossing history, New Horizons has an autosave feature. In all previous games, you had to manually save your game, and if you didn't, you'd get chewed out by the harrowing head of the Reset Surveillance Center, Mr. Rosetti. Kyogoku said at E3 2019 that because of the new autosave feature, Mr. Rosetti has been laid off and was looking for a new job. And it seems he did indeed find a new job. Although we never see Rosetti, the operator of the rescue service sounds a lot like him. And it's kind of weird that his helicopter operator complains about autosaving, don't you think? In the past, hijacking your saves was a key method for cheating and getting showered in bells or whatever. Nintendo encrypted New Horizons save data, but in just a few days, hackers found a way in, forcing Nintendo to update the game right away. Sure, you can always time travel by fudging with your Switch's calendar, but seasonal events will all require an online connection to verify the date. This also means you better make sure you get every free update of the game. Neither Kyogoku nor Nogami consider time traveling cheating. They know that people play how they like. Still, the game has a few ways of discouraging it, like weeds popping up and having all of your precious turnips rot. A few other old-er friends are getting new roles. For example, Harvey ran the campground in New Leaf, but now runs a photo studio called Photopia on his own island. The studio consists of 6 rooms where you can run around and place any furniture that's in your Nook shopping catalog, all for free. Photopia also works with amiibo. Scan an amiibo to summon that villager into your scene, or you can summon any of the villagers on your island using the resident tab in any of the rooms, which looks like a purple cat icon. However, don't expect a heartfelt reunion with your villagers during your photo session. Villagers can be dressed in your wardrobe and then dragged and dropped like furniture, but not talked to or otherwise interacted with in any way. This has genuinely freaked out some players. On the bright side, if you scan an amiibo in Photopia, you then unlock a poster for that villager, even if you don't take an official shot with them. You can then buy the poster for 1,000 bells from Nook shopping at the Nook Stop. Gulliver, the Seagull sailor, is back. When he washes up on the beach, you have to help him find 5 pieces of his broken cell phone. The pieces will squirt out of the sand, just like a manila clam. It's kind of like his old challenges in Wild World and City Folk, where he was suddenly an astronaut for some reason, and you helped him find his UFO parts. In 2019, an 87-year-old grandma named Audrey went viral after showing her town in New Leaf, which she had spent a whopping 3,580 hours on. Now, New Horizons has a new wolf character named Audie, which is Audrey's username in New Leaf. We're all happy to see one familiar face, Isabelle of New Leaf and Smash Bros. Fame. She's not on your island from the get-go, though. You need to upgrade the Resident Services tent to the Resident Services building before she shows up to help Tom Nook. She handles stuff like reporting villagers, island evaluations, and daily announcements. Of course, the other character everyone wants to see is KK Slider. And don't worry, he'll show up too, but only after you've earned a 3-star rating in your island evaluation. You just have to work real hard at making your island, well, worthy enough for a celebrity to notice. As for other characters, all previous animal types that have appeared in past games appear in New Horizons. There are 397 possible villagers in New Horizons, both old and new. Seriously, it's dizzying. At least 33 of these villagers are entirely new to New Horizons. We also have new NPC friends, like Orville and Wilbur, the dodos who run the airline and are appropriately named after the Wright brothers. However lovely they are, Orville and Wilbur seem to have taken the place of Captain, whose job was literally to ferry you to an island. Orville and Wilbur were content not only to take Captain's job, they took Pelly and Phyllis's as well. Pelly and Phyllis ran the post office, but since you can just send postcards at the airport, you don't really need a post office anymore. The list of characters who are straight up missing is actually pretty long. Brewster used to run the Roost Cafe, but now he's nowhere to be seen. At least Crazy Red is back after his initial absence, so there's still hope for our favorite NPCs. Like Dr. Shrunk, he would teach you different reactions, but in New Horizons, you just learn reactions from your fellow villagers. So unless Club LOL relocates, it looks like Dr. Shrunk is out of a job. Harriet ran the Shampoodle, but her whole livelihood has been replaced by a mirror. I feel bad for her. But honestly, it's a lot easier to just pick the style and color you want without having to do guesswork. Who cares how messy my room is? I just want a blue ponytail. In the February 2020 Nintendo Direct about New Horizons, a few eagle-eyed fans noticed what looked like a tombstone at the top right of the screen. This spawned a whole bunch of worried fan theories as to who could be buried there, including Joan, Tortimer, the elderly ex-mayor who retired in New Leaf, and even KK Slider for some reason. Well, KK's just fine, and Joan is okay too. Fans were concerned because previews showed a new younger boar named Daisy May selling turnips. Turns out, she's Joan's granddaughter, and Joan has retired and let her take over the family business. Still no word on Tortimer though. The biggest innovation for villagers in this game? Sleeves. Like, just normal villagers have not worn sleeves before this game. People are freaking out about this. You might be wondering, if there are so many dang villagers, why haven't any of them moved to my island? There are a number of ways you can try to facilitate new people moving in. Perhaps the easiest is using your Nook Miles tickets to chat with people who are visiting other islands. Speak to them twice to have the opportunity to invite them over. After you get the proper resident services building, you can also build a campsite for visitors, and then you can go persuade these visitors on the merits of your community. If you have an Animal Crossing amiibo, you can even use that to coerce specific characters to your campsite. Lastly, after resident services proper opens up, you'll be able to buy plots of land from Tom Nook, and Tom will then sell these plots for potential neighbors. Of course, you'll also have special visitors stop by your town. Flick is the new character who runs the bug off from City Folk and New Leaf. Sorry, Nat. Even if Flick is not in town specifically for a bug off, he will zealously buy any bug for you for 150% of the price you'd receive from Timmy and Tommy. Flick is also an artist. If you give Flick 3 specimens of the same bug, he'll mail you a fashionable furniture model of that insect the very next day, for free. Keep in mind that Flick will only do 1 commission a day, so make sure it's a bug model that you really want. We also have a brand new fish guy, CJ. Like Flick, CJ will buy your fish at 150% of the Nook's Cranny price, and you can hand him 3 fish for a fancy model. But unlike Flick, you'll have to complete a Seaports challenge for CJ's blog before you're able to sell him anything. CJ isn't just a younger, hipper version of Chip, the previous runner of the fishing tourney. He's actually Chip's son. CJ runs the family business, but he's brought it into the 21st century world of streaming. Putting decorations around your island is on a whole new level. While New Leaf introduced outdoor furniture, there were a ton of annoying restrictions on what you could put and where. That is not the case in New Horizons. You can put anything anywhere. Except you cannot put this item in the plaza. You can also customize your island with fences. To unlock fences, you have to invite at least 1 villager on a mystery island to come live in your town, and then help Tom Nook deal with the bridge construction kit and new villager plots. Your reward for your hard work will be 50 free units of fencing. Later, you'll be able to unlock fancier kinds of fences with Nook Miles. Customization and design have always been a serious feature of Animal Crossing, but it's hard to let go of our personal favorites from earlier games. Luckily, for those veteran players, you're able to import designs from New Leaf and Happy Home Designer into New Horizons with QR codes. In order to get all those fashionable accessories, you'll need bells. To get as many as possible, producer Nogami suggests placing as many fruit trees in as small amount of space as possible, and then selling off all that fruit. He even uses a special tree configuration so he can gather fruit fast, but he doesn't reveal what that configuration is. On the other hand, director Kyogoku suggests riding the stock market. Stock, like how it's like a turnip stock. She always hopes to get a bunch of bells from a giant surge of turnip prices. She even often talks about turnip prices with friends and colleagues. I do the same thing. I wake up at 6 a.m. and I text all my friends and I say, "Tell me your turnip prices now. Open your gate. Let me in." If you don't want to gamble on turnip prices, you can make bank on Tarantula Islands. It's a bit of a grind. It's very much a grind. I've tried it. But after 7 p.m., use a Nook Island ticket to head to a deserted island. Clear it of everything. Trees, rocks, bugs, pluck, don't dig up all the flowers. And then, if you've done it all correctly, you'll start seeing some serious tarantula action. You can also luck out and go to the Tarantula Island, which has an island within the island filled with tarantulas before you even show up. Unfortunately, the Tarantula Island scheme started falling flat once giant water bugs showed up in April. Giant water bugs are difficult to both scatter and catch because they hang out in the middle of rivers. You can still sell those water bugs for 2,000 bells a pop. Not as good as the Tarantula's 8,000, but not bad. You can also net some serious bells by selling the daily hot item to Timmy and Tommy at Nook's Cranny. Hot items will sell for twice the usual amount. New Horizons even gives players the opportunity to sell wares to Timmy and Tommy after Nook's Cranny closes, via the drop-off box. However, you can't sell hot items there, and the boys will take a 20% commission. Or you can literally plant a bell tree. Next time you see a glowing spot on the ground and dig up 1,000 bells, instead of pocketing that sweet, sweet cash, rebury it and plant a little cash sapling. In 5 days, you'll have a tree that rewards you with 3 times your initial investment. On launch, New Horizons didn't support cloud saves, and it still doesn't. As annoying and worrying as that is, rest assured, your game is saved on a server, and in the unfortunate event your Switch should meet an untimely demise, your island would live on. You were probably wondering, so let me confirm that Yes, you can take a poop in New Horizons. I love video games. While toilets have always been in Animal Crossing, they've just been for decoration. But now, if you've eaten some fruit recently and you don't want to smash a rock, you can relieve yourself to bring your count of fruit back down to 0. You poop the fruit into the toilet. New Horizons also introduces a few new ways to move around your island. If you run right up to a hole, for instance, your villager will automatically jump right over it. Of course, you also now have the craftable vaulting pole to get across rivers and the ladder for climbing up cliffs. Nintendo released a New Horizons version of the Switch itself, which was set to release 1 week before the game. Tom Nook and Timmy and Tommy are on the dock, and the back of the Switch has ocean waves engraved on it, and it's just overall pleasant to look at. It's so cute. In a bizarre twist of fate, March 20th turned out to be an intense time to release Animal Crossing. The severe outbreak of the COVID-19 virus around the world forced waves and waves of fans into their homes. Many took to Twitter pleading with Nintendo to release the game a week early. The release date stuck, but Nogami said he hoped fans will use Animal Crossing as an escape so they can enjoy themselves during this difficult time. When it was released, New Horizons was unanimously celebrated as the perfect game for the singular global moment in which it was released. Its perfectness was self-evident. New Horizons had the biggest launch weekend of any Switch game ever in Japan. And in the UK, it sold more than all past Animal Crossing launch totals combined. Since so many eager players were cooped up at home and willing to spend even more time playing than usual, a few particular hilarious circumstances arose. For example, since the museum takes a grueling 2 days to finish completion, many players found their yards and homes completely overrun with bug cages and fish tanks as they waited for their museum to finally open. The bad news is, the coronavirus outbreak is still affecting the people who are working on seasonal event DLCs right now. Fortunately, Nintendo is looking out for their safety by adjusting hours to avoid crunch. The team doesn't know whether the virus will begin to affect work, but as of right now, they're still chugging away, but safely. Nogami and Kyogoku won't reveal exactly what these updates hold, but they did say that the updates are being designed in the hope that 2 or 3 years from its release, players will still find new and surprising delights in New Horizons. The first taste players got of a New Horizons update was notoriously Bunny Day, aka Easter. Unfortunately, Bunny Day was not exactly warmly received. The holiday encouraged villagers to craft all kinds of special DIY Bunny Day recipes out of the eggs that suddenly appeared. Problem is, there were way too many eggs. Like every time I went fishing, half of my catches were eggs. I know egg is not fish. Give me fish. I don't want egg. I don't want water egg. I'll never forgive Zipper for this. Nature Day was the second big event for New Horizons, and it dropped on April 23rd. The event featured everyone's favorite botanical sloth, Leaf. He ran the garden center in New Leaf, and now he sells plants in the town square. I'm ready for any future event that doesn't involve eggs. Crazy Red also came back aboard his treasure trawler. He'll be peddling his usual art pieces, both real and fake. If you buy a real one, you can donate it to the museum's brand new art gallery. There's so much more to come in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Who's your favorite villager? What are your best hacks for becoming a billionaire? Please tell me. Write it in the comments. I'm gonna look, because guys, I'm on Nookazon, I'm on Turnip Exchange, I'm in it. And I'm Sydney. Thanks for watching the Leaderboard, where all players are welcome. Seriously, tell me how you guys are making your 5-star towns, please.